Pluto, discovered by Clyde Tombaugh in 1930, Pluto gets its name from the Greek god of the underworld. Pluto was known as the ninth planet for many years, and in 2006 was reclassified as a dwarf planet. 1 year on Pluto would be about 248 Earth years. Temperatures on Pluto range from minus 226 degrees Celsius to about minus 240 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty frigid. It's located about 3.6 billion miles away from the sun, and it's about 1/5 the width of Earth, so it's fairly small, even smaller than our moon. Launched in 2006, NASA designed New Horizons with the intent of reaching Pluto. It was designed with a light payload, so it would travel very quickly, and its objective was to photograph and get information about Pluto and the Kuiper Belt, which is beyond that area. It flew by Pluto on July 14, 2015, and took about 9.5 years to get there. It continues to discover and explore objects in the Kuiper Belt, and it will continue to fly beyond that point until we lose contact with it. When I was doing research about Pluto, I found that books published before 2015 didn't contain much information or hardly any photographic images of Pluto. After New Horizons passed by Pluto, we gained an increased knowledge of this area of the solar system, as well as accurate photographic images. Pluto has an unusual orbit and rotation. It's both elliptical and tilted. This diagram demonstrates Pluto's axial tilt compared to Earth's. On Earth, we have a tilt of about 23 degrees. On Pluto, it's tilted 120 degrees. This means that its north and south poles are larger area compared to Earth's, and also there's more extreme seasonal changes on Pluto. One day on Pluto is about 153 days on Earth. Pluto also spins in retrograde motion from east to west, unlike Earth, as we spin from west to east. This diagram displays Pluto's orbit. You can see how inclined it is compared to the solar system's orbital plane. It's about inclined at a 17-degree angle, and at one point, when it's closest to the sun, it's even closer than the orbit of Neptune. When NASA launched New Horizons, they planned it just right, so when New Horizons passed by Pluto, Pluto was in the solar system's orbital plane. Otherwise, they would have had to use a lot more fuel to reach it if it was outside of it. Pluto retains a thin atmosphere, mainly composed of nitrogen. It also has methane and carbon monoxide. Because of Pluto's low gravity, its atmosphere is fairly extended compared to Earth's. An interesting fact is that UV rays from the sun break apart the methane in the atmosphere. When it gets broken apart, it mixes with other molecules and falls back from the atmosphere to the surface, forming a substance known as tholins, and that's what gives Pluto its reddish color. Also, as Pluto orbits around the sun, its atmosphere changes too. When it's farther away from the sun, it gets so cold that the atmosphere even freezes and snow comes down from the atmosphere. Pluto has 5 moons, its biggest being Charon or Charon, named after the boatmen who ferried dead across the river in the underworld. Charon is about half the size of Pluto. It's actually the largest known satellite compared to the parent body in our solar system, and it's also mutually tidal locking. Scientists believe that at one point there was a subsurface ocean on Charon. Over time, this froze, and upon freezing, the ice expanded, causing a break in the moon. And that's what scientists believe this large fault line was caused by. Also, there's a presence of reddish material on the north pole of Charon. Those are actually tholins, and those come from Pluto. They escape from Pluto's atmosphere and travel about 20,000 kilometers to arrive on the surface of Charon, and that's what it gets its color from. Pluto has 4 other moons. Nyx, named after the Greek goddess of the night. Hydra, named after the gigantic water snake with 9 heads that lived near one of the entrances of the underworld. Kerberos, named after the 3-headed dog in the underworld. And Styx, named after the river that flows souls on a one-way trip to the underworld. All these smaller moons are irregular in shape and are not massive enough to be rounded off by gravity. They are not tidally locked, and all of them have a chaotic orbit around Pluto. Pluto is active geologically. Scientists believe that Pluto has a rocky core, and it might even have a subsurface ocean. This, in turn, is beginning to freeze over time, and there's water ice that continues to thicken on the outside layer. Not much was known before the New Horizons mission, and when we got a clear view of the surface, scientists were surprised that a lot of the surface material is new. They were expecting it to be old and cratered, more like Mercury and the surface of our moon. This was a sign that it's geologically active, and one idea of why this is happening is the subsurface ocean. As it continues to freeze, that would in turn cause latent heat and warmer temperatures. Although Pluto is thought to have some internal heat, which aids in the resurfacing of its exterior and creating such landforms such as ice mountains and glaciers, its surface temperatures are still extremely cold. Temperatures so cold that it freezes nitrogen even. Some of the surface composition is made up of glaciers of frozen nitrogen, ice mountains, ridges, tectonic features. There's even possible ice volcanoes. But most of the surface materials composed of nitrogen, methane, and some carbon monoxide ice. Also, as I previously mentioned, there's tholins, which is the reddish material that is created from the methane that's broken down from the atmosphere. Pluto is part of the Kuiper Belt. It was discovered in 1992 and is located about 30 astronomical units from the sun and stretches to about 50 astronomical units from the sun. It's composed of objects in our solar system that have an orbit beyond Neptune, and scientists believe that these bodies were leftovers from the creation of our solar system. It's very similar to the asteroid belt that lies between Mars and Jupiter, but these components are a lot icier and the temperatures are very cold in this section. The Kuiper Belt's really interesting because there's a lot of area that we haven't explored yet. So my hope is with the New Horizons mission, it keeps traveling through the Kuiper Belt. I'm interested to see what new material it'll find and what new objects. Although Pluto isn't known as a planet anymore, it's still an important integral part of our solar system. It has become an archetype for dwarf planets and other trans-Neptunian objects. I really enjoyed studying its surface structure along with its moons and being able to recreate them in painting for this project. I have a newfound appreciation for Pluto, its mystery, and its beauty.